I now hand the conference over to Mr. Manish Mahawar from Antique Stock Broking Limited. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Malika. On behalf of Antique Stock Broking, I would like to welcome all the participants on the call of Sharda Cropchem. From the management, we have Mr. R.V. Bubna, Chairman and a Managing Director, Mr. Ashok Vashisht, CFO, and Mr. Dinesh Nahar, GM Finance on the call. Without further ado, I would like to hand over the call to Mr. Bubna for opening remarks. Thank you, and over to you, Bubna ji.
Thank you, Mr. Manish. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to everyone present here for the earnings call of Sharda Cropchem Limited for Q1 FY22. Sharda Cropchem is represented by myself, Ram Prakash Bubna, Chairman and Managing Director, our Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Ashok Vashisht, and Mr. Dinesh Nahar, General Manager Finance. Talking briefly about our Q1 FY22 results. Revenues grew by 60% year-on-year from rupees 389 crores in Q1 FY21 to rupees 623 crores in Q1 FY22, led by strong volume growth across the geographies. Europe grew by 47% year-on-year. NAFTA grew 75%, and LATAM grew about 107%. Rest of the world grew by about 20%. During Q1 FY22, our agrochemicals and non-agrochemicals mix stood at 86 to 14. The agrochemical business grew by 74% year-on-year. Europe grew by 60% year-on-year. NAFTA grew by 99%. LATAM grew by 110%. Rest of the world grew by 7.5%. The formulation to AI mix stood at 89 as to 11 in Q1 FY22. The non-agrochemical business grew by 8% during Q1 FY22. NAFTA grew by 13.5%. LATAM grew by 69%. Rest of the world grew by 38% year-on-year. On the other hand, Europe degrew by 19% during this quarter. The company continues to strengthen its product portfolio by prudently investing in new product registrations. Sharda Cropchem's total product registrations stood at 2,570 in Q1 FY22. Additionally, 1,026 applications for the product registrations globally are at different stages of approval. The capex stood at rupees 64 crores in Q1 FY22 vis-a-vis rupees 71 crores in Q1 FY21. With this brief overview, I would now like to hand over the call to our CFO, Mr. Ashok Vashisht, for discussing our financial performances. Thank you very much. Now to Mr. Ashok.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, very good evening to all of you. I will give you a brief about the company's financial performance for June quarter. During the June quarter, our revenue grew by 60.1% on quarter-on-quarter basis, and this was mainly driven by strong volume growth across geographies. So at 42%, and price impact was favorable to the tune of 8.2%, and coupled with exchange gain of nearly 3.7% during June quarter. In terms of gross profit, we grew by 57% on quarter-on-quarter basis, From 116 crores in Q1 last year, we grew to 183 crores in Q1 FY22. Gross margin, in terms of gross margin percentage, we were at 29.3% for Q1 FY22, which is, the slight dilution in the margin is mainly because of the product mix impact. In terms of geographical mix, Europe region was the highest contributor, followed by NAFTA and Latin America. In terms of EBITDA, there was exponential growth by 119%, wherein from 49 crore in Q1 last year, we grew to 107 crore in Q1 this year. So even in terms of EBITDA percentage, we expanded the margin by 463 BPS to 17.1% in Q1 FY22. In terms of profit after tax, we grew by 36.4% on quarter-on-quarter basis, from 28 crores last year, same quarter, to 38 crores in Q1 FY22. In terms of cash profits, we were at 92 crore for Q1 FY22 in comparison to 63 crore of Q1 last year. So we, with this strong performance, we further strengthened our cash position. The net cash position as on 30th June 2021 is 361 crore. In terms of working capital, in terms of days, we were at 88 days in Q1 this year against 89 days Q1 of last year. So with this brief, so we open the floor now for questions. And again, I would like to thank each one of you for your time and participation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Bharat Gupta from Edelweiss Securities. Please go ahead.
Hi sir, thanks for the opportunity and congratulations for a good set of results. My question pertains to the can you bifurcate the growth in terms of pricing and the realization, pricing and the volumetric gains which we have done over the quarter?
Yes, just 1 minute. The growth based on volume was 48.2%. And what was the other? Foreign exchange, it was 3.7%. Price variation, 8.2%. Sales variation, 60.1%.
Right, sir.
Mr. Gupta is trying to say volume, in terms of volume growth, that is 48%, price impact 8%, and forex 4%.
And sir, can you just throw some light, like we have done a reasonable amount of volumetric growth. So what can be the key growth drivers? Like Europe, we have done nearly 60% odd growth. So ultimately, can you throw some light, like what have been the key growth drivers for us during the quarter?
I would say better penetration into the markets, which we are already present in. More acceptability with the customers.
And sir, can we in terms of our volumetric growth, so can it be due to the incremental registrations which we have done over the quarter and the remunerative crop prices globally?
You see, you cannot link directly with the number of registrations because there is a big time lag between the time we get the registration and the time when we start reaping the benefits of it. As we have stated, we have added, our total registrations are 2,570, and in March, the figure was, 1 minute. It was 2,543. So we've added 27 registrations during this quarter. But I would say that the addition of this 27 registration in this quarter would not have a direct impact in the growth of business. This growth has come up from the registrations which were received maybe 12 months back or 9 months back or 15 months back.
Right, sir. And so we have seen a 8% kind of a pricing increase which have been taken. So like earlier when we used to like organize con call, so you highlighted couple of points that there has been pressure like in terms of MNCs not hiking out the prices. So how are we seeing the trend? Like have they started increasing the prices for the molecules which we are also dealing in?
See, whenever there are sometimes a shortage and MNCs are not able to meet the requirements of particular market or particular zone, we do have a spurt in the demand, and then we take advantage of situation and also hike our prices marginally, so that and the customers are always in need of the product.
Right, sir. And sir, my last question pertains to the gross margin side. So we have seen that the gross margins remain under pressure during this quarter. So is it primarily because we haven't taken the requisite price hikes, or we haven't fully passed on the price hikes to the end customers, and there is still a room for further improvement, or like is it a new norm where the gross margins are likely to continue below 30% range?
No, there is a possibility of gross margins touching 30% or even crossing 30%.
So that is likely to witness in the subsequent quarters, right? So our earlier guidance, which used to be 31 to 33% range, so that is sustainable going ahead.
It is sustainable.
Right, sir. And sir, can you just for a bookkeeping question, so can you give a gross margin breakup across different geographies?
Yes. See, gross margins in Europe were in the range of 39%. NAFTA it was 23%, LATAM 17%, and rest of the world 28%. Overall,
Pardon, sir?
29.3%.
In North America, it is how much, sir?
22.8% to be precise.
Okay. And sir, can you also throw some light on the volumetric growth which we have done over the in the regions?
Yes, please. Volumetric growth was 31% in Europe, 73% in NAFTA, 103% in LATAM, and it degrew by 13% in rest of the world.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Thank you so much and wish you all the best.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Tarang from Old Bridge Capital. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Good evening. Two questions from my side. One, sir, I mean, looking at your P&L, it seems like logistic cost inflation has, it's not impacted you materially. While on the ground we hear different things. So just wanted your thoughts on that. And second, if you could give us some sense on the 1,030 odd applications, 1026 odd applications, what proportion of them would be pending in Europe, and would you have some visibility in terms of how many registrations, how many of these applications should get registered, say over a span of next 2-3 years?
Your name is Mr. Dharam?
Tarang Agarwal.
Tarang.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Tarang, if you have been exposed to our business model, we have said repeatedly year after year that the process of registrations is very unpredictable. It is highly time consuming, and it has to go through various levels of bureaucratic processes. So predictability as to how many registrations are we going to get in the next quarter or next 3 quarters is very difficult to say.
Sir, I meant 3 years.
Yeah. All I can say is that the number of registrations in the pipeline in different geographies, would you be interested in that?
Yes, sir.
So the figure is about 648 registrations in Europe, which are in pipeline, 137 registrations in NAFTA or North American countries, 154 in Latin American countries, and 87 in rest of the world.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sir, and on logistics?
Yeah, logistics. You see, logistics have increased considerably. In our case, the logistics have increased by about 38% from Q1 21 to Q1 22. But since the freight cost forms a very small percentage of our total cost, the impact is not so much felt in the total totality. On the other hand, in case of non-agrochemical business, the logistics form a very significant part of the cost. So there, we have been able to pass on more than 50% of the price increase on our consumers. Nowadays, when we quote to the consumers, we tell them this is our FOB price, and this is say maybe $4,000 per container is the freight, sea freight from port of shipment to post of discharge. But sometimes this 4,000 goes up to 16,000. Then we tell them we can share 50%. So out of this 12,000 increase, 6,000 will be borne by us and 6,000 will be borne by you. And customers are fully aware of the situation, and without much of a grudge, they are willing to pay the 50%. Sometimes we also ask more than 50%. And since it is a universal phenomenon nowadays, everywhere is the same situation. So we don't have much of a difficulty in passing on the logistics cost to our consumers.
Correct. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. We would like to remind participants that you may press star 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Somaya from Spark Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity. So my first question, yes, sir. The first question is with respect to the top line growth. Can you just share some color in terms of the broad macro trends that you're seeing in Europe and NAFTA, and the broad macro environment there, both in Europe and NAFTA?
See, there has been an increase in the demand and growth. As you are all aware, agriculture assumes the highest priority among all the countries and all the governments in the countries. So there is no drop or no stillness in the demand. The demand is growing, the world population is growing, and food products are in demand. So there is a good increase in the demand. This demand has not been impacted adversely because of Corona.
Sir, and with respect to our previous comment on having a better penetration in the last quarter being one of the drivers, what has actually led to us, in terms of a relatively higher penetration last quarter? What has aided in better penetration last quarter?
Sir, wider product mix and longer presence in the market, good quality and good service.
Got it. Sir, and in terms of raw material cost price trajectory, so how are you seeing things from Chinese raw material cost angle? So how has it been in last quarter, and how are you seeing things currently?
I have been proved wrong in the last few quarters. I was thinking that Chinese prices are subduing, and they did that for some time. Now they have started again increasing, and the trend is mixed. For some products, the availability is comfortable. For some products, the current price is maybe 40% or 50% of a price about a year back. In other products, the prices came down to 30-40%, and now they have gone up to 60%. So it's a dynamic and continuously changing situation. It varies from product to product. Overall, there is a small increase, but it is affordable and it is manageable.
Got it. So, and now that we have a very strong 60% growth in this quarter, so what would be our thought process in terms of outlook for this year, both in terms of top line and margin front? What is our outlook?
I would say around 15%, plus or minus 3-4%.
Okay. Yes, sir. What would be the reason? One last question. So, what would be the reason for the tax rate higher this year? And when we expect things to kind of normalize, get back to normal in the subsequent quarters?
I will ask Mr. Ashok to comment on that. 1 minute.
So actually, can you repeat your name, please? Mr. Sumaya, right?
Yes, sir, Sumaya.
Yeah. So actually, last year we got MAT credit, some beneficial MAT credit, and this year in India business in Sharda Cropchem Limited, we have got dividend income where there is a tax implication, and when you consolidate the accounts, it gets eliminated. So actually, the tax rate would be in the range of 30 to 32%. So it is actually this quarter looking higher, but when we close the year, so it would be in the same range, around 30 to 32%.
Got it, sir. So you had mentioned about the volume growth for this year. So you had given Europe, NAFTA, the volume growth on a YOY basis. If you can give the volume number as well, it should be helpful, sir. The number that you used to generally give on a quarterly basis.
Sure. You want the numbers for the quarter ended June 2022?
Yes.
In Europe, the quantity is 36,95,700. In NAFTA, it is 26,66,000. In Latin America, it is 16 lakhs. Rest of the world, it is 4,35,000. Total around 84 lakhs.
Helpful, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dhruvam from HDFC Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, a question again on the top line. Solid 60% growth. Although I mean, we see the last year was a bit weak. Last year base was a bit weak. So even on a 2-year basis, it is about 50% growth, which is a very strong. And if I look at some of the global majors, they are talking about strong demand, but not as strong as what we are doing. And also, if I see the trend for the last 2-3 quarters, we have been doing 30% kind of growth. So, sir, what is changing? Is there something which has changed? If you can help us understand what is driving this growth and what can continue to drive a healthy growth for us. So 15% looks conservative based on what you have been delivering for the last, say, 3-4 quarters for the full year that you have given.
Sir, I have answered this question in part to one of the previous participants. I would say it is greater penetration in the market and more acceptability among the customers. When you enter a market as a generic company, For the first year, 2 years, many people don't know you, and they keep their fingers crossed whether we'll be able to perform and deliver. Slowly, they are gaining confidence in our capability to perform and deliver the goods and deliver it on time to their requirement. So, and our prices are always better than the multinationals. So they say, why not? I think these are some of the factors which have helped us.
Got it. Got it. So basically, that would, because you are growing, of course, our size is relatively smaller to the others, but I mean, to the global majors, but I would understand you are gaining market share from some of these guys. I mean, the generic players are gaining market share from these guys. Is this the trend which is happening? The innovators are not cutting prices, and that allows you to penetrate or push your product even better more. And I believe this if this trend has started now, it seems has only started recently. I mean, the acceleration in trend. So why do you think that the growth will only be 15%? Why not higher then?
So we are playing on a very tough terrain. Multinationals are still controlling about 75% of the market or even more, and we are a very small fry. So we are not big enough to force them to cut down on the prices. Our presence is not impacting them so much. For us, of course, in terms of relatively or percentage-wise, we are growing. But we are very small fry compared to them. And of course, they don't like us. But then this is a rule of the nature. So they are tolerating us.
Yeah, but so seems, I mean, given the growth that you're doing.
See, our 30% growth may impact them by 1% or 0.5%.
Yeah, true. So it's relatively small for them, but I'm just wondering, on a very incremental basis, you're taking a decent market, it seems. So, and this seems a developing trend. So I'm just trying to understand, why this cannot continue for a very long time, given that advantage that you have, the cost advantage that you have. Probably, if the innovators are not cutting prices, this trend should ideally keep continuing. They will, I mean, more and more the shift will happen because this is just the tip right now. I mean, as it gains scale, others will also look at you for sourcing, isn't it?
See, these are the factors which are giving us the confidence to survive and sustain, and of course grow. But the path is very difficult. The challenges are very, very much there, and every day we come across some challenges, and things are not so easy, sir, as it appears on paper.
Yeah,
in reality, there are a lot of challenges.
That's true. Sure, sir. And sir, just to better understand on this growth, is there any select set of products which are driving this, or is it also probably because the last few quarters have also been coincided with a lot of these shipping issues and all these things, sourcing issues, and because we have been able to better manage probably our sourcing, that is why we are also getting larger volumes. Probably others are not able to do that. Is that also a factor which is helping us, or that's not a big thing that you see?
No, I think these are the factors which are helping us.
Okay.
These are the factors really helping us.
Okay. So probably
and our ability to take quick on-the-spot decisions, If the shipping company says the prices are increased by 20%, we don't try to bargain, we accept it because we know after 2 days it may become 30%, And this is what we are facing and experiencing every day. Our customers in the non-agro business keep on complaining that 1 week back you said this is the freight, now you say this much. And we are very polite and tell them, please check up from any other sources that you have. Here we are not making any extra money. And check up and they do check up. Everybody is very intelligent and smart. And our ability to adapt to the situation is helping us.
Got it. So, okay. So what I was trying to also understand then is, say, for example, the shipping issues get resolved in, say, a year or two. Say probably a year is what the market forecast is generally. So would this growth normalize because then the other players will also start entering the market and try to, take your share? Is that a thing?
See, if those things improve, we'll be very happy. But I don't think it's going to cost us in terms of volume and growth.
Okay.
We will also take advantage of that situation, and as everybody else.
Got it. Got it. Sure, sir. And sure, sir. Great, sir. That was very helpful. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and one at this time. The next question is from the line of Rohan Gupta from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Bhuvna ji, hi sir, good evening.
Hi, good evening. Rohanji, I always confuse with you. There are two Guptas in Edelweiss. One is Mr. Bharat Gupta and one is yourself. Am I right?
Yes, sir. Bharat is my colleague, also looking at the
Good. Good to know and clarify. Boliye, sir.
Okay. Sir, first of all, congratulations on such a strong set of numbers driven by volume growth, almost 50% in the current quarter. While, sir, you also just mentioned that the times are very challenging, and you still mentioned that for full year you are looking close to 15% growth. I understand that it's coming from the conservative approach which you have. But, sir, given such a solid growth in the first quarter itself, and just slightly elaborating from the previous participant's question. Sir, we have already achieved such a solid growth. It means that even for the next of the year, we do only just 5 to 6% growth. We will achieve 15% growth for the full year. You mentioned that the times are challenging and we don't know how the competition will act in the market. Sir, can you elaborate a little bit more? What are the challenges you are seeing? While you also mentioned that the global agri in the current scenario has benefited, pandemic actually has helped the global agricultural industries and all. So all these things and the volume-led growth which we have seen in the current quarter is mainly driven by, you mentioned that you have increased further your penetration in the many markets. So sir, what are the concerns and what are the challenges which you are seeing in the market which can deter you in the rest part of the year from growing in the same way?
Rohanji, the biggest fear today is a sense of uncertainty. This corona pandemic was totally unthought of about 15-16 months back. And when our Prime Minister declared the lockdown for the first time for about 3 weeks, if I recollect, we were thinking after 3 weeks, things will come down to normalcy. So then it got extended by another 2 weeks. Now the whole thing is getting extended for about 16 months. So there are a lot of uncertainties which nobody can be confident of what is going to happen next. Now people are talking about Delta and Gamma and all kinds of various viruses. So we cannot know, we do not know. It is going to impact the whole world, whole universe. And we will be a part of it. So that overconfidence we do not want to have and we should not have. Now shipping freight costs, nobody could imagine that a container which we used to pay $1,500, we'll have to pay $15,000. And still, shipping companies are surviving and the businesses are surviving. There are a lot of such things, There can be any climate change. Now we hear some glaciers melting, many things, Sea water level rising. These are the acts of nature. Such a heavy rain in the city of Bombay and this part of India was not imaginable. Now, some of these factors are affecting some people very badly. And if some section of people gets affected badly, the indirect impact will come on everybody. I cannot name any specific factors, Rohanji, but the things are uncertain.
Sir, I fairly understand, sir, that we are living in a dynamic world more so after the pandemic. But many risks related to agri, sir, have always remained there in agri input industry because that is the nature of the industry, especially monsoon and unpredictable nature of rainfall and the climatic conditions. So that definitely we have always lived with. But yes, I understand that in last 1 year we are living with a pandemic environment that is quite uncertain for everybody.
Sir, apart from that, if things remains like this, do you see that this kind of growth in the current quarter which we have seen, it's mainly driven by that, if it is mainly driven by our further penetration in other markets and the people probably increasing acceptance of generic products, that's what business we have primarily. So I'm not getting into, sir, once again, the uncertainty of the nature of the pandemic. I'm just saying if the current scenario continues and the kind of work which you have done, your company have done last 1.5 years, which has helped you in gaining more penetration in many markets, can we have this kind of 30 to 40% kind of volume growth for this year? Without factoring for any uncertainty.
I would say in totality, I would place it around 15 to 20% or 12 to 18%. We may grow,
volume growth.
But today I'll be very afraid to go on to a very big figure, because I have to face you after 6 months again,
No, sir, fairly.
I have to be very practical.
So 15 to 18% the growth you are talking about is mainly volume-led growth, correct?
And volume plus also in the profitability also. EBITDA and all those related ratios.
Because sir, we are living in a pricing increasing scenario. You said that the prices across the products are continuously rising. So the current quarter 8% was mainly price-led growth. So I just was looking more of the volume growth. Can we have a 15% to 20% volume-led growth for this year?
मैं समझा नहीं सर लास्ट पार्ट आपका क्वेश्चन. I thought you were making a statement. What is the question, Rohan ji?
Sir, you are saying that given a conservative scenario, you want to give a 15% growth. That you are talking about mainly volume, sir, or it's a total revenue growth which includes both price increase as well as volume?
It is total revenue, sir.
Okay. Why, sir, prices are continuously rising, right? So commodity prices or input prices are continuously rising. You just mentioned that though definitely sometime back China was showing some cooling off in the prices, but it has once again started hardening. So sir, it means that we will continue to live in a price rising scenario, correct sir?
Both ways. See, sometimes the prices are sometimes we get quotations from our regular suppliers, which is surprisingly at a low price. And some other time the same supplier for some other products, the prices are higher. So it's totally a question of supply and demand. For a person like us, the company like Sharda, it is very difficult to make a precise prediction. We will say that this is our hunch feeling and this is our intuition that we should be able to withstand and all that. And thirdly, I'm very confident of our team. Our team is very committed and dedicated. Every crisis, they find some way out and solution and come out as a winner. We have not faced any failure situation anywhere. I think I have spoken enough.
Yes, sir. Right, sir. So just another question is on our Latin market. We have seen that, sir, very solid growth. You mentioned almost 100% growth in Latin market.
Sir, would request you to rejoin the queue for follow-up questions.
Okay, thank you. No problem.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dhruvam from HDFC Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you for speaking in. So one question, just one clarification again. Sir, do you see a trend of pre-buying which is also aiding growth? Because there is a lot of supply issues and all those things, so people are trying to stock up to just avoid any future uncertainty. Is that also a trend that you're seeing and which is also aiding growth?
Mr. Rohan, Mr. Dhruv, you are a very intelligent person. You know many things. This is also the case. A lot of people are doing some pre-buying and they want to be more sure and certain, because agriculture is one activity where the time doesn't, the nature doesn't give you time. If there's a rain, it comes all of a sudden, you have to be prepared for it, and any kind of eventuality. So there is a trend. Those who can afford and who are more certain and confident, they are trending to do some pre-buying.
Okay. Okay. But sir, I'm not sure, but is there, from an overall inventory levels, have they in the system, I'm saying about the system, not our inventory level, have they increased significantly, or the inventory levels are normal, so pre-buying is largely getting even absorbed at the final consumer level also?
They are getting consumed at the final consumer level.
Okay.
People are preparing, say for example, if the spring is in the month of April or May, people used to start stacking the goods sometimes in the month of February, March. Now the same people are planning to have the goods in their warehouses in December. They don't want to take chances. I don't know what makes them so uncertain. So a lot of people are trying to buy and have the goods in their warehouses even in the month of December.
Got it.
It does not mean that they are increasing the quantities in a very big way, but they are making themselves secure.
Yeah, got it. And sir, one thing is just to understand how the business works is, say for example, you sell to then the distributor, and distributor finally sends to the final consumer. So say for example, the distributor was earlier associated with an innovator, that he was buying the innovator product and selling that branded product. Now you come in and probably because he is buying from you, because you have that product available, he comes to you, he buys from you, he probably has an advantage now. So have you in your past experience seen that the distributor goes back to the innovator after getting the benefit from you, he realizes how much benefit that you provide? Does he still go back to the innovator and start procuring from him when the situation normalizes? Or you get a sticky customer that way?
This is not a general trend. Once the customer is accustomed to buying from us, he is intelligent enough not to spend unnecessarily extra higher prices and buy from the innovators.
Yeah. So that is what I was thinking, because anyways, you to mark to market your pricing to the innovators. You don't keep a differential.
Yes, we run into a situation when our supplies have dried up, and to replace those supplies, if we need 4 to 6 weeks or 8 weeks, then of course he will go to the multinationals. But as long as our goods are available, he will not go to them and pay higher prices.
Got it. So once you get a customer, it is largely, for a very broader sense, one should assume it is largely sticky. He will continue to give you volumes.
And there are many customers who want to play safe. If they have a requirement of say 100 gallons, he will buy 80 gallons from the multinational and 20 gallons from me. After 2 years, he will reduce the multinational share to 75 gallons and buy 25 gallons from me. So in this way, they are also securing themselves that they are not let down by our incapacities in any way.
Got it, sir. Perfect, sir. Sir, a small chota sa question hai on the FX item. So why do we have this FX fluctuation? What does it, I understand we have global trading. So, but what this FX item relates to? जो अपन P&L में जो दिखा रहे हैं?
FX items, this foreign exchange.
Foreign exchange.
Sir, this is mainly the cross currency exchange rates, like euro dollar or Canadian dollar to US dollar, all the different currencies and US dollar.
Okay. Probably I'll take that offline. No worries, sir. Got it. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rohit Nagraj from Emkay Global Financial Services.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Sir, my question pertains to a broader strategy level. As I understand, there are about 22 products which are going off patent during this decade. So how, do we have any positive, negative impact from the same? And if there is any, how are we going to take maybe advantage, or how we will be scaling through the situation? Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Nagraj. So there is a disturbance coming from your line, sir. Request you to mute your phone so the management answers your question.
Hello, Mr. Rohit.
Yeah, can you hear me now, sir?
Yeah, we can hear you, but our respected lady was not able to hear you. So can you repeat your question for her benefit?
Yeah. Basically, we are expecting about 20 products going off patent during this decade. So will it have a positive or negative impact on our business, and how are we assessing this situation? Thank you.
Mr. Rohit, this will be having a positive impact on our business. And the biggest advantage we have today in this business is that we are not manufacturers. These kind of changes affects the manufacturers when a product gets banned and they're sitting with a big capacity to produce it, and that becomes idle. And that leaves a vacuum there. Because we have very wide range of portfolio, if glyphosate goes off the market, we are not impacted. If there's a big glut of glyphosate in the market, we have less emphasis, we stop buying them. But a person who's manufacturing, he can't help it. He has to dump the product because he can't keep it sitting on the stocks. So we are very nimble-footed and very flexible, and this business model of flexibility helps us in this kind of situations.
That's helpful, sir. Thank you so much, and best of luck.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The last question is from the line of Himanshu Binani from Antique Stock Broking. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Sir, thank you for taking my question. So, sir, I do have a few questions. So, firstly, on the intangible write-off side, I just wanted to understand what would be the quantum basically, how should one actually look for the FY22 numbers for the intangible write-offs for this year?
You are Mr. Binami.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Binami, this is a factor which is again not very predictable with certainty. This kind of write-off is driven by many factors and a combined effect of all those factors. But I would say that we will not have any significant write-offs. We do not foresee any significant write-off in this year.
Okay, sir. And sir, any sense on the margins profile for this current year for the next 3 quarters basically? So given an inflationary RM situation, so how does one look into the margins profile overall?
Margins?
Yes, sir.
We are very positive. We are hopeful of improving our margins as the time passes.
Okay. And sir, one last bookkeeping question from my end. So can you please help us with the registration breakup geography-wise?
I think we have given that, but this information is available with me.
I think I have actually heard...
Registration geography-wise is 1,347 registrations in Europe, 237 registrations in NAFTA countries or North American, 748 registrations in LATAM, and 238 in the rest of the world. Total 2,570.
Sure, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Manish Mahawar for closing comments.
Yeah, thanks, Malika. On behalf of Antique Stock Broking, I would like to thank the team of Sharda Cropchem for providing us an opportunity to host the call. Bubna ji, would you like to make a closing comment, sir?
Yes, sir. I am very grateful to all the participants who have taken their time, very valuable time for this conference. And we have tried to answer their questions to the best of our capability. And I want to repeat that we learn a lot from all these investors who are putting questions. This helps us to guide our business and manage our business better. We understand what is expected by an investor and what is expected by the financial experts out of any company. So it's very helpful and learning, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. On behalf of Antique Stock Broking Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.